Hello, I'm Teacher Kelly. Welcome. If you don't already know me, I am a recruiter, mentor, interviewer for a number of online ESL companies. And I absolutely love helping teachers get started and be successful in this fabulous industry. So if you are looking for a company, you can find my full list of companies that I work with below. You can also find my email address. If you want to shoot me an email and have a bit of a chat, I'm happy to help. And also be sure to click subscribe. I think the button's over here. So that you can keep up with all of my latest content. And thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. Now today's video that we are going to jump into very shortly is all about a topic I get asked about all the time. Tax. Nobody likes tax, but we need to talk about it because it is important. So I recently sat down with a wonderful tax professional to learn all about what it means to be an independent contractor and how that affects us in terms of tax time. So without further ado, let's jump in and get some questions answered. Hello, so I am here today with Travis. Many of you familiar with my channel already know him as the wonderful teacher in my iTutorGroup example interview. So as you guys already know, he is a fabulous online ESL teacher. But what you don't know is that Travis is also a chartered accountant with over 10 years of experience in the industry. And he runs his own practice called Tax Digital as well. So it makes him the perfect person to chat to today for us online ESL teachers, all about the serious topic of tax. Hi, Travis.
Hey, Kelly. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, as most of you will know, I was in that iTutor video showing off my English teaching skills, but accounting and tax kind of is my passion, and I've been in it, doing it for a while. Kelly kind of comes to me with all her questions, so we thought we'd put in a bit of a video together for everyone out there, and hopefully we can help some people out. But I do just want to remind you that today I'm just giving general advice only. Doesn't take into account any of your personal circumstances, needs, or objectives, and you should always seek personal tax advice from a registered agent in your own country. But if you happen to be in Australia, feel free to reach out to me, and I can definitely help you here at Tax Digital. So without all that disclaimer stuff out the way, let's get going, Kelly.
I love the disclaimers. No, that is very, very important because obviously we do have teachers watching from all over the world. So very important to keep in mind that this is very general conversation that we're having.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so speaking of general, a couple of things I want to get out of the way since you do have a lot of experience, with advising businesses and whatnot. One question I always get from my recruits, applicants, and whatnot is, I'm an independent contractor, apparently. What does that mean? So
yeah, look. That's a really good question. And I guess a lot of people are coming from an employment perspective, and they've always been employed by another business, and they just really don't know what an independent contractor actually means for them personally. The biggest thing is responsibility. Everything is now your responsibility. So that whether that's sourcing income, tracking your expenses, providing the equipment, paying taxes and the corresponding registrations, and also the legal responsibilities. Now, there's not too many when it comes to teaching English online, but when you think about it, if you slip off your chair and hurt yourself or something, there's no work cover or insurance that's going to cover you. So that responsibility rests solely with you. It's not someone else's problem, it's your problem. So the biggest difference is the responsibility for everything is with the contractor.
Awesome. And I've definitely pulled a muscle doing TPR, so that's a real scenario.
Fair enough.
I probably shouldn't have included that part. People are going to think I'm strange now.
A little bit.
But no, that is very, very important to know because I know I go to you with questions all the time about being an independent contractor. So it's good to clear the air on that one. Now, the other one I do get all of the time
is that, of course, this is contract work. And I often get people coming to me after they've signed a contract, or, after they've been working with a company, saying, this contract is illegal, or this isn't allowed in the US or Australia, or insert wherever they live here. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So let's forget about the company for a minute that you're contracting to. Let's think about you. So if you're a contractor and you live in the US, you're controlled by your laws and your registrations with the IRS or the ATO or whoever it is in the UK. You're controlled by the country that you're a tax resident in. Now, there is a difference between being a tax resident and where you actually live. We're not going to get into that, but you're controlled with where you're an actual tax resident. So if you employed someone, you would have to uphold the laws and the minimum payment requirements and all of that stuff of the country that you live in. Now, most of these companies that you're contracting to are based in China or Indonesia or Russia or Turkey, wherever they're based in, and they are responsible and are upheld by their laws. So even though you're in America or you're in the UK, the company that's in China, they only have to abide by their laws. Now, expectations here have to change. So if you are responsible for your contract and all of your own things, if you're contracting to that company, ultimately you choose whether you want to take that contract on or not, okay? But they're not bound by your laws. They're bound by their laws. So just remember, they don't have the same minimum payments, the benefits, the insurance that we have in the Western countries here. It's completely different. But again, going back to that first question about responsibility, the responsibility of that contract and that two-way street rests entirely with you. You make the choice if you want to contract with them or not. So just think about it in that aspect. Change your expectations a little bit and realize that they're not held by your laws or expectations.
Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to get into a little bit more specificity and what everyone wants to know about, and paying the tax man. So you told us earlier what it meant to be an independent contractor, but what does that actually mean come tax time?
Okay. So let's go back a couple of steps and let's go back to what happens when you first become a contractor, right? So that first moment you go, hey, I don't want to be employed anymore. I want to go out and be a contractor for someone. I know here in Australia, the first thing you need to do is go and register yourself as a business, because essentially that's what you are as a contractor. You're a business and you're providing a service to other people or other companies or other entities. So the first thing you need to do, register. Make sure that your registrations with your IRS, ATO, again, whatever it is in the UK, are all up to date and they're correct. The other thing is to note that, so in Australia, it's the ABN, so Australian Business Number. You may have to pay GST, or in the UK, it's VAT. You may have to pay those taxes on a quarterly basis, depending on your income. And we haven't even reached tax time yet. This is all the stuff you need to do straight away. Okay. It is complicated, but we'll get there. So come up to tax time, it's lodgements. Okay, so we need to record our income, our expenses, and lodge all of that data with the relevant authority, and make sure that you obviously pay your liability that's outstanding. Again, responsibility is with you. So as an independent contractor, you need to make sure that you pay your tax, that you're recording things correctly, and that you're doing things as per your country's laws. Now, a lot of people get confused with this because as an employee, they're paying, tax on your behalf, but that doesn't happen. As an independent contractor, you need to manage that all yourself. Does that kind of answer? Yep.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely. So my follow-on question from that, and I also get this. There's going to be follow-ons. Just get used to it. So no, that is crystal clear. A lot of these companies don't really report anything on our behalf. So some companies will do a 1099 if you're in the US, few and far between. For the most part, these companies are not reporting our income to wherever we need to be dealing with it.
Mhm.
What are the implications for us in that regard?
Okay, so let's think about a plumber. I know it sounds strange, but like you've got plumbing, something goes wrong in your bathroom. Yeah, something goes wrong in your bathroom and you need to get a plumber in, right? Plumber comes in, he charges you $200, $300, whatever it is, you pay him the money. Right. You're not expected to report that to the ATO or to the IRS or to whoever it is. It's actually up to the plumber to record that income and transmit that to the relevant authority. It's not up to the individual that's doing it. Now, the same applies as for you guys as independent contractors. The Chinese company, again, bound by Chinese laws, not American or Australian laws, won't record that income for you. You have to do that yourself. So you need to track your income. I personally recommend small business accounting software for everyone, regardless of what type of income you're receiving. If you're an independent contractor, got a massive company, you need some type of software in the modern day and age to track that income. I personally like Xero, but I also find QuickBooks to be a very intuitive product as well, and I think it's a little bit cheaper. But yeah, you need to be responsible for tracking that income yourself. Now, there's a little bit of a complication here because you could be receiving. Yeah, it's tax. That's the point. So you have to report it in your country's currency. So if you're earning in American and you live in Australia, you need to do that currency conversion. Or if you're earning in rubles and living in America, you need to convert that to your currency. You can't report something that's a different currency because then obviously it's all out. So yeah, you just remember you need to convert that to your local currency. Yep.
Excellent. Very good advice. Okay, so that being said, you've already mentioned a few kind of bits and pieces there, but how can teachers that are independent contractors plan ahead for when tax time does roll around? Obviously, that's different times for every country, but how can we start thinking ahead for when that sad time of the year rolls around?
D-Day. Basically, you need to plan ahead. As you said, plan ahead, right? But if you're tracking your income and your expenses using the accounting software I mentioned earlier, basically you can have a pretty good idea of how much tax you're going to pay. So in Australia, you just estimated around 30%, America probably 20%, depends on your own country, right? And then you take that and you just put that 30 or 20% aside so that you know at the end of the year you've got the money sitting there. Okay. So as an accountant, I'm constantly doing tax planning for people. It's the biggest pain, particularly for independent contractors, because they start out particularly they start out 1 January or whenever it is, they get 12 months into it and then they haven't put any money aside because they didn't know how much to put aside and it was all too hard. Yes,
I don't know anyone that's done that.
Very muchly so. And then they get this big shock. How am I going to pay that? You need to really think about that from the moment you start and just, put 20% of every paycheck aside. Just bang, bang, keep putting it there. And that way, at the end of the year, you won't get caught out. That's the best way to do it.
I can vouch for that advice. Been there, done that. Probably have the t-shirt somewhere. Okay, so my next one. This is my favorite question to ask. So a lot of us teachers like to buy stuff for our teaching. I mean, I love my props. So what does that mean for us when tax time comes around?
Yeah. Tax deductions. Everyone loves a good tax deduction. That's fine. You are legally allowed to have a tax deduction. That's fine. What you need to remember is that your tax deduction or your expense has to be directly related to your income. Okay, so you can't go out and buy a car and say, hey, that's related to my income as an English teacher. How? It doesn't make any sense, right? But let's go through some of the things that you most likely are going to get a deduction for. Let's think about headset. keyboard, mouse, computer, desk, electricity to run your computer, internet, all of these things that are directly related to you attaining that income or that contract is a tax deduction for you. Now, one of the things that I always get asked, and it's a really hard concept for people to understand, is if you go out and buy $1,000 computer, that doesn't mean you're going to get $1,000 tax refund. Okay, what it means is that your actual income will get reduced by that $1,000, and then the percentage of tax you pay on that will be less, basically. So if we say that, you know, for example, Kel, if you earned 40K in a year and you went and spent $5,000 on new computer, whole big background, all that type of stuff.
Sounds like something I would do, to be honest.
Yeah. your 40K income, you don't pay tax on that. You pay tax on your 35K income. So if we're looking at it, we'll keep it really simple, 10%. So 40,000 at 10%, $4,000. If it was reduced by that $5,000 down to $35,000 net income, then you only pay $3,500 tax. Okay, so you only get the percentage of your actual expenditure, not the whole expenditure. But going back to tax deductions, keep your receipts. Everyone must keep their receipts. If you buy something, keep your receipt. My biggest piece of advice, I think. Yeah.
I may hear that advice many, many times throughout the year.
It's a little sticky note that needs to go inside your wallet.
I'm horrible at keeping receipts, but it's great advice and very useful. It stops your accountant from yelling at you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so really good advice there. Now, the next one, I know you have a little stake in this question, being one yourself, but what are your thoughts? Should we use a tax accountant or go at it on our own when it comes to tax time?
Look, it is a hard one. As an accountant and taxation, I will always recommend people get professional advice. It's the same as if you get divorced, right? Are you going to get a solicitor involved or not? Most people just go and get professional advice, even if it's just a 30-minute conversation. That little bit of help or that little bit extra can make all the difference between lodging something incorrect and lodging something correctly. That being said, that if you filed your own tax return before and you're good at researching, you're good at understanding legislation, and you're willing to learn, and you've got the time, there's nothing stopping you from doing it yourself. The systems are designed to be self-assessed. You can do it yourself. There's no problems with that. However, I know in Australia...
I knew there was a however coming.
The legislation is extremely complicated, and it is changing every single day, and tax professionals have given up in certain circumstances, and particularly in the COVID, they've just gone, this is all too hard for me, I'm giving up, I'm going to go do something else. That's not an uncommon thing in our industry because it is so difficult. So if you do get it wrong, is it a big deal? I mean that's the ultimate thing that you're paying an accountant for, is to get it right. But if you get it wrong doing it yourself, what happens? Well, you probably get an audit, and you'll get penalties. So they'll, charge you interest on anything that you've underpaid, and then if they think you've done something a little bit dodgy, you'll get a big penalty. And those penalties, I know in Australia, are not cheap. So yeah, look, it's up to you. If you think you can do it, go ahead. If you want that little bit of extra assurance, that's why you pay an accountant. And as you said, a little bit of stake of my own, a little bit of a shameless plug for anyone in Australia that would like some specific tax advice, particularly around teaching English online. Feel free to either reach out to me on my email. My website also has all my fixed pricing on there as well. So yeah, just reach out with any questions you've got.
Yeah, and I'll pop that information below too, so you guys can bug the tax professional. Okay, so we're coming toward the end here because I don't want to keep you too long, and obviously, I don't want everyone losing interest in the conversation of tax.
It's not very
the most
interesting.
Exciting topic, but it is one that we as online teachers do need to know about.
Yep.
So my last question for you, do you have any final tips or things that we need to remember or do going forward?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my top 3. These are the top 3 things that I always recommend to anyone new in business. Yeah, 3 things that you need to remember or do. Keep your receipts. Said this earlier, gotta say it again. Keep your damn receipts. It's just, look, you're not going to get a tax deduction if you don't. And that's the end of the day. If you need your receipt to get your tax deduction. Number 2, use a business bank account. You can be a small contractor and have a business bank account. Just go set up another bank account. Make sure all of your income is deposited in there. And then if you're spending any money on anything, make sure it comes out of there. That way, you can track it. It's in, out, bank, done, right? Whereas if you start mixing it with personal expenses, you're just going to miss things and you're going to have no idea. So grab a business bank account, income goes in, expenses go out, and then anything personal, just take big lump sums out. That's the easiest way to deal with it. Get some accounting software. They're cheap these days. $10 a month, probably not even. Ultimately, if you're a small business and you're an independent contractor, it's the easiest way to track income and expenses, and make sure that you are compliant with all of your local laws. So yeah, 3 biggest things: keep your receipts, use a business bank account, get some accounting software.
Pretty good tips. I'm covering 2 out of the 3 currently. So
yeah, those receipts. We need to talk about that.
We always need to talk about that. Endless conversation. Okay, everyone. So that is our tax chat for the day. And hopefully you guys found some useful information from Travis's time with us. So first and foremost, I want to thank you, Travis, so much for taking the time out of your accounting day to help us. So thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't doing much exciting anyway, so no problems at all. But as I said earlier, if anyone would like any advice or conversations, feel free to reach out.
Definitely. And again, I'm popping his information below in the descriptions. So definitely do reach out. Travis has been doing my tax for about 8 years now, so I can't complain. He's
been great.
Pretty decent at it, except the receipts. He's always up me about receipts. But anyway, all right. So we are going to wrap up there. Again, thank you so much, Travis. And thank you all for tuning in to our lovely little tax chat today. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.